A trial that stems back to a murder occurring in 1979 has gained a lot of media coverage over the past few years due to multiple appeals to be released for a wrongful conviction, being released while awaiting a new trial, being imprisoned again, and being released once again. Media trials can be defined as select criminal justice cases that are taken up by the media, commodified, and marketed as mass infotainment products. They are also trials that impact a person's reputation by creating a widespread perception of guilt or innocence before or after a verdict in a court of law due to the use of television and newspaper coverage. The trial of Barry Beach can be considered a media trial because the details of his trial have been covered immensely in the news. If someone only knew about Barry Beach's trial through the news, they would have been led to believe that there was an innocent man behind bars. I personally wouldn't have known about Barry Beach if it hadn't been covered in the news. Barry Beach's trial fits into the evil strangers theme of media trials because he was portrayed as a psychotic killer. It was said that Kim Neese was beaten by Barry Beach in the head with a crescent wrench or a tire iron. It was even said by one of his lawyers that Beach may have had a second personality called Ray Woods that committed the murder. Although Barry Beach is not a man of color, I believe that his crime that he supposedly committed fits the racist system frame. It seems to me that detectives were trying to pin the murder of Kim Neese on Beach due to an arrest that he had in Louisiana for contributing to a minor. In the radical version of the racist system frame, the basic purpose of the criminal justice system is to suppress a potentially rebellious underclass. In 1979, Kim Neese was last seen in her truck by herself around 1 a.m. At 4 a.m., two police officers saw her truck parked near the Poplar River but had no need to investigate at that time. At 7 a.m., the officers saw the truck still parked there and pulled off to look and saw blood inside the truck, a pool of blood outside near the truck, and then discovered Neese's body partially submerged in the river. The autopsy ended up revealing that the cause of death was skull fractures. After being arrested in '83 in Louisiana for contributing to a minor, Beach was questioned about the murder of Kim Neese and was also questioned about the murders of 3 young women in Louisiana. He was eventually cleared for those murders, but after hours of questioning, he eventually admitted to the murder of Kim Neese. There were no investigators present when detectives interrogated Beach. The methods used in the interrogation were highly suspect. It was alleged that Beach was interrogated for 7 hours with no food. It was also said that Beach was yelled at and threatened with the electric chair. During one of his testimonies, Beach broke down and cried, saying that he was only 20 years old and he was scared during the interrogation and would have said anything to get out of that room. Beach's first attempt to argue his case came in '83 when he filed a motion to suppress his confession. This motion was denied because the judge believed that Beach was not threatened during his questioning and that he voluntarily admitted to the murder. Beach pleaded not guilty to murder later that year, but his murder trial was refused to be halted. Beach was found guilty of deliberate homicide in April of '84. He was sentenced to 100 years in Montana State Prison with no possibility of parole. In '92, Beach filed a habeas corpus petition. He then filed for post-conviction relief with Montana State Court, which was ruled against him since he did not raise the issue within 5 years of his conviction. Beach's appeal was rejected and his petition was dismissed. In 2005, Beach filed a written application for clemency, which ended up getting denied. The Montana Board of Pardons and Parole agreed to meet in 2007 to review Beach's case. The board rejected Barry's request to be set free. In 2008, Beach was denied a new trial, but in 2009 he was approved for a new hearing in his efforts to prove his innocence with a new trial. In 2011, Beach was released from prison as he awaited a new trial, but after 18 months of freedom, Beach returned to prison. In 2013, Beach asked the Supreme Court to reconsider their decision to put him back behind bars, which was rejected. The parole board agreed to meet at the end of April 2014 to discuss Beach's request for clemency, which was also denied. After this rejection, Beach stated that in an effort to continue to fight for his freedom, he may give up on Montana's justice system and move on to federal court. In October 2014, Beach's attorney asked the Montana Supreme Court to reconsider Beach's sentence due to the fact that Beach was 17 when the crime was committed. The Supreme Court responded by saying that Beach had exhausted all options to prove his innocence and deserved no more. In October 2015, Beach filed for yet another appeal due to a law that changed, stating that the governor gets the final decision rather than Montana Board of Pardons and Parole. In November 2015, Governor Bullock approved Beach's request for clemency, which released him from prison. Barry Beach gained many followers and supporters over the course of his prison term. One such group, called Barry Beach Supporters, began in 2013 in Great Falls, Montana, and every Wednesday they would meet to walk the Central Avenue West Bridge to support his cause. Some of his supporters also included Senator Jon Tester, Governor Brian Schweitzer, and Senator Conrad Burns. Now that Barry Beach is free, his support group out of Great Falls plans to take on new causes. They believe their marching in the streets and testifying at the legislature are what it takes to get something done in the democratic system. Not only did they fight for Beach's freedom, but they also supported House Bill 43, which is the law that gave the governor the power to grant clemency. Upon his release, Barry Beach stated that the feeling was surreal. He knew that it would happen eventually, but he didn't think it would take as long as it did. 3 psychological reports show that Beach poses a minimal risk to society and will be able to successfully transform back into society. Although Beach has many followers and supporters, there are still those that want justice for Kim Neese. A cousin of Neese, upon the release of Beach, was disappointed because she believed that Beach should not have been released without them finding who the real murderer is. But Neese's sister believes that Beach did not commit the murder, and she doesn't even know why he would have been around her at the time of the murder. One of the women that may have potentially been involved in the murder had a father who was a police officer at the time. Her father broke into the evidence room and contaminated crucial evidence, which made it unable to be used in court. There is a theory that a group of teenage girls killed Neese, and this group of girls has even admitted to people that they committed the murder, but the confessions never got turned over to court. Some of the girls denied interviews, and no one wants to come forward now at the risk of retaliation. To this day, Beach maintains that he was in bed at the time Neese was killed. His confession didn't match the crime scene, and there is no information in the original investigation that would show Beach was anywhere near Neese the night of the murder. Of everyone interviewed, no one had even seen him that night, and he hadn't even had access to his car. He also had no motive for killing Kim Neese. Now that Beach has been freed, the mystery will remain unsolved for now.